Imagine a future where our mountains of trash don't just disappear, but are transformed into useful things. That's the big, bold promise of a technology called plasma arc gasification. Think of it like a man-made lightning bolt, but instead of striking a tree, it strikes our garbage. This isn't your everyday fire. Plasma torches create temperatures hotter than the surface of the sun, reaching up to 13,900 degrees Celsius or 25,000 degrees Fahrenheit. At these extreme heats, trash doesn't just burn, its molecules are ripped apart. It's a process of complete deconstruction. This high-tech treatment promises to leave almost nothing behind, a concept often marketed as near-zero waste. When you feed municipal solid waste, everything from plastic bottles to banana peels, into a plasma gasifier, two main things come out. First, you get a special gas called synthetic gas, or syngas. This gas is combustible, meaning it can be used to generate electricity or even be refined into liquid fuels. The idea is that the trash itself becomes a power source, turning a problem into a solution. It's a very appealing concept for a world drowning in its own refuse. The second product is a solid, glassy rock called vitrified slag. All the inorganic materials in the waste, like metals, glass and soil, melt down and fuse together into this black, shiny substance. Proponents claim this slag is incredibly stable and inert. This means the heavy metals and other nasty things that were in the trash are supposedly locked tightly inside the glass, unable to escape and harm the environment. Yeah, this slag can then be used in construction projects like building roads or making concrete blocks, completely closing the loop on waste. So the promise is powerful. You take garbage, you zap it with super hot plasma, and you get clean energy and a safe building material. No more giant smelly landfills leaking pollutants into our groundwater. No more clouds of toxic smoke from old school incinerators. On paper, it sounds like the perfect technological fix, a silver bullet for our global trash crisis. This is why some countries, especially those with very little space for landfills like Japan, have been so interested in exploring this futuristic way of making our waste vanish. Japan is a country of islands, which means one thing: space is extremely valuable. You can't just keep digging new holes in the ground to bury trash forever. This reality has pushed Japan to become a world leader in waste management technology. For decades, they have relied on waste-to-energy incinerators, burning trash to generate power and reduce its volume. But in the 1990s, concerns over toxic emissions like dioxins from older incinerators led to a search for cleaner, more advanced methods. This is where plasma arc technology entered the picture, looking like the next big step forward. Several Japanese cities and towns have invested in plasma arc facilities. The appeal is clear. These plants look clean, modern and high-tech, fitting perfectly with Japan's image of innovation. They represent a move beyond simple burning and towards a more sophisticated chemical conversion. The idea is that if you can't recycle something, you can use plasma to break it down to its basic molecular components. This approach has helped Japan maintain its famously clean streets and manage the massive amounts of waste produced by its dense urban populations, all while having very limited landfill capacity to fall back on. However, the journey hasn't been without its bumps. Real-world examples from Japan show a mixed record of success. For instance, a large plasma plant built in the town of Utashinai, Hokkaido, faced significant operational challenges and eventually had to shut down. It struggled to process the planned amount of waste effectively and proved to be economically unsustainable. On the other hand, smaller plants, like one in Fukui Prefecture, have seen more success. This suggests that the technology might work better on a smaller scale or when it's fed a very specific and consistent type of waste, rather than a random mix of household garbage. These experiences highlight that plasma arc is not a simple plug-and-play solution. Its success depends heavily on engineering, consistent operation, and the specific type of waste it is designed to handle. While the technology offers a compelling vision for a landfill-free society, its practical implementation is complex and requires careful planning. Japan's story with plasma arc is a crucial case study for the rest of the world, showing both the incredible potential of advanced waste treatment and the very real challenges that come with pioneering such a powerful technology on a large municipal scale. While turning trash into energy sounds great, there's a catch. It takes a tremendous amount of energy to get started. Those plasma torches are incredibly power-hungry, drawing megawatts of electricity just to heat up. This creates a critical question. Does the plant produce more energy from the syngas than it consumes to run the torches? If it doesn't, the facility could end up being a net energy loser, effectively burning fossil fuels at a power plant somewhere else just to run its green waste solution. This makes the climate benefit much less clear and much more complicated. Then there's the financial cost. Building a plasma arc facility is extremely expensive, often costing hundreds of millions of dollars. To guarantee a return on this massive investment, companies that build and operate these plants often require cities to sign long-term contracts, sometimes for 20 or 30 years. These contracts frequently include a put or pay clause. This means the city must promise to deliver a minimum amount of trash every year. If the city's residents do a great job of reducing, reusing, and recycling, and they don't produce enough trash, the city has to pay a penalty. This put or pay system creates a direct and powerful conflict with recycling efforts. Plasma gasifiers work best with dry, high-energy materials like plastics and paper, the very same materials that are valuable for recycling. A city locked into a contract that demands a steady stream of burnable waste has a financial incentive not to improve its recycling programs. A city councillor in Japan once described this situation perfectly, calling it zero choice, not zero waste. The technology, designed to solve a waste problem, can end up creating a system that needs waste to survive. This is a stark contrast to communities that are focused on a low-tech behavioral approach. Consider the Japanese town of Kamikatsu, which has become famous for its goal of achieving zero waste without any incinerator at all. Residents sort their waste into more than 40 different categories for recycling and composting. Through intensive community effort, they have managed to recycle over 80% of their waste. Kamikatsu shows that there is another path, one that prioritizes preventing waste and recovering resources over high-tech disposal. It proves that technology is just one tool, not the only answer. The promise of near-zero waste deserves a closer look, because in science, things rarely disappear completely. The main solid byproduct of plasma gasification is the vitrified slag. Promoters market this black, glassy material as completely safe and inert, perfect for use as a construction aggregate. The theory is that the extreme heat locks any hazardous materials, like lead and cadmium, into the glass matrix, preventing them from leaching out into the environment. In a perfect world, this would be a fantastic way to turn a hazardous component of our waste into a harmless and useful resource. However, some environmental groups and scientists raise a crucial question. How do we know it's truly safe forever? The tests used to certify the slag as inert often simulate conditions over a relatively short period. What happens to this slag over decades or centuries when it's exposed to rain, acidic soil, and freezing and thawing cycles? There are concerns that, over the long term, the glass could begin to break down and slowly release the trapped heavy metals back into the environment. This is why demanding independent, long-term testing of the slag is so important for any community considering this technology. Furthermore, the slag is not the only thing left over. To clean the syngas before it's used to generate energy and to scrub the exhaust streams, plasma plants use complex systems of filters and chemical scrubbers. These filters capture fly ash, unreacted carbon, and other pollutants. This captured material is often highly concentrated with toxic substances. This residue, sometimes called filter cake, is a hazardous waste that cannot be used for anything. It must be carefully handled and disposed of in a specialized landfill designed to contain hazardous materials. So, while the volume is greatly reduced, a stream of toxic waste still remains. This brings us to the core of the greenwashing debate. When a technology is promoted as near zero waste, but it still produces a hazardous residue that needs to be landfilled and a solid byproduct with long-term safety questions, it can be misleading. It's not that the technology doesn't work, it does dramatically reduce the volume of waste. But calling it a perfectly clean, zero-waste solution oversimplifies the science and hides the full picture of its environmental footprint. True environmental stewardship means being honest about all the byproducts, not just the ones that look good on a brochure. So, if your town or city is considering a plasma arc plant, what should you do? The first step is to ask a lot of tough questions. Don't be dazzled by the high-tech promises alone. The most important thing to examine is the contract. Look for any mention of a put or pay clause or a guaranteed minimum tonnage. These are major red flags, as they can lock your community into producing waste for decades and financially punish you for successful recycling and waste reduction efforts. A good contract should reward the vendor for meeting emissions targets, not just for processing a certain amount of trash. Next, demand transparency and independent verification. Don't just take the company's word for it that the byproducts are safe. The community should insist on a contractual right to have independent third-party labs test the slag for leaching and the filter residues for toxicity. These tests should be performed regularly, say every quarter, and the results should be made public and easy for everyone to understand. Similarly, real-time emissions data from the plant's smokestack should be available on a public website. This accountability is essential for building public trust and ensuring environmental protection. It's also crucial to remember the waste hierarchy: reduce, reuse, recycle, and only then recover energy. Before signing up for any expensive disposal technology, a community should ask for a full life cycle analysis comparing plasma arc to other options. This should include a scenario with intensive recycling and composting programs like the one in Kamikatsu. Diverting wet, organic waste to composting is often cheaper and more environmentally beneficial than trying to process it with energy-intensive plasma. Plasma arc may have a role, but it should be for the things that are truly left over after all other options have been exhausted. Ultimately, plasma arc technology is a powerful tool, but it is not a magic wand. It may be best suited for specific niche applications, like safely destroying hazardous medical waste or managing trash on a remote island with no other options. It is probably not a one-size-fits-all solution for every city's mixed garbage. A community's best defense against making a costly mistake is to stay informed, prioritize waste reduction and recycling first, and demand contracts that align with the community's environmental goals, not against them. Smart choices come from smart questions.